You were here for the first Trump administration, and now you're here for the second one.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
He is much more unhinged this time, and unfortunately has more sycophants that are willing to carry out whatever it is that he wants to be done. Them the Constitution, them respect for institutions, them, democracy. Like they're there to do whatever.
Is he well, you think?
Oh God, no. He should have had therapy long ago. Obviously, he's struggling with a lot of things, but I also think he probably could use some medication as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Congresswoman Omar. You were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative $65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public, not.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest.
Welcome back, and welcome back. And we have another one today. And we're going to be discussing about Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and really this interview that she did with the Breakfast Club, to where she gave really her perception on Congress and these committees and how, she, views these things at this point in time within her career and whatnot. I will say that throughout the interview, there are some moments to where you can kind of see some things to where she's just not sure, how to really answer things. Now, before we get into that interview, I want to pivot a little bit and talk about Congresswoman Sheila McCormick that caught my attention a few months ago when I saw this clip of her.
We tried again. I also wanted to ask you about the investigation into your families, but this is also part of her congressional duties. Congresswoman, you're under investigation for the congressional ethics for violation of campaign finances. Sorry. Congresswoman, this is your district. You have to answer to these people.
In this article, it states that the federal judge in this case against Representative Sheila McCormick granted a delay in her trial until February 2027, pushing it well past the 2026 midterms. The decision was made at the request of both the prosecution and defense, which cited an exorbitant amount of files they must sift through to prepare for the case. But Cherfilus-McC may still face an early exit from Congress, as her colleagues will soon decide on penalties for her. The request to move back court proceedings came less than a week before the trial, previously set to begin Monday in a Miami federal court. Cherfilus-McC, a Florida Democrat, faces 15 charges that include stealing $5 million in FEMA funds and routing that money towards her congressional campaign. The representative has said she's innocent of the charges against her.
There was an agreement for that money I was supposed to be paid for working as an independent contractor because I was in the field.
So take me to this, take me down to the detail, because what we're talking about is actually an invoice from the company for $500,000 that was paid allow me to finish, please. The contract, that the invoice for the contract that was being paid, it was a mistaken amount that was paid, and the mistake was a decimal point. Actually, the decimal point was one side over. So the payment that the state made erroneously was $5 million when the payment was supposed to be $500,000. That is a fact.
So that is a fact. But if you're looking at what we were discussing, right, because we can't discuss all the details. We're talking about, did I actually have a right? Was their billing correct? Did I have a right to the funds that we were supposed to get? The fact of the matter is yes. Now, the state itself said that they had an error. Not only did the state say that they had an error, it was a system error throughout the entire state of Florida. The state of Florida has not prosecuted not one person for that. The federal government has not prosecuted not one person for
But the issue here, Congresswoman, is that money was paid and not returned and alleged to be diverted to your campaign. It wasn't about other people. This is about that.
So which is, Glenna, this is what I'm trying to explain to you, right? That it's false.
The letter requesting the delay said lawyers already received more than 1.2 million records. That includes reports, bank documents, and recordings, and have more batches expected in late May or early June, then another in the months following. That's insane. That's really insane. The interests of justice served by continuance outweigh the interests of the public and the defendant to a speedy trial, wrote Judge Darren Gales, an Obama-era appointee in his decision. So you know she's getting off. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't know. The request for delay was submitted by the attorney for Edwin Cherfilus, who is Cherfilus-McCormick's brother and is also facing several charges related to the alleged theft. Other defendants cited in the request for delay include Cherfilus-McCormick's chief of staff, Nadege LeBlanc, as well as tax preparer David Spencer. So that's the current case right now with her. Now, there is a correlating factor that I do want to present and circle back at the tail end of this video, because I think that it is very interesting when you look at these types of investigations dealing with these members, even in concerning with Ilhan Omar's case. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into that interview with Ilhan Omar and The Breakfast Club.
Yes, then we'll battle because that's necessary. And so that's kind of my distinction between those two buckets, if that makes sense.
So let's stay here for a second. Yeah. Republicans, like Lauren said, they are pushing this ethics probe over your family's finances and your husband's business dealings. What do you think that's really about? Is it accountability or politics?
Well, it's not accountability because they haven't done anything formally, right? So it is just politics. It's like, we're going to subpoena, we're going to do that. It's like, it's all of these things that are not, they're never going to do. So they're just saying it because then that gets them an interview on Fox or Newsmax, or, you know, you'll see they tweet and like 5 minutes later, if you check, they already got a clip of themselves being interviewed 5 seconds later. And so it is more about, and it's usually like a lot of members that struggle to get or are like really desiring, right? Like there are a lot of members who come to Congress, and they are comms heavy. Their office is very comms heavy. You know, they're trying to get on every TV show that they can. And so that's what a lot of it is like driven by since I got there. You know, it's like you say something about Ilhan, people fundraise, you know, they're buying me a ticket back home. It's like, it's all of this stuff. You know, I joked with Nancy Mace that she could drop off the ticket because I'm next door to her office. She hasn't dropped off a ticket yet. If you mean it, send me that ticket, you know.
I get what she's saying here, but she's conflating two aspects of Congress. There is a political theater involved to cater to a base and voters and donors. I think we all can realize that. And I think she's even acknowledging the fact that she possibly plays the game too in order to, you know, rile up the base and to appease her, you know, donors and voters, just so that she can stay in office. However, though, Congress is not a total reality TV show, at least in my perspective. I think that what happens is that whenever you conflate these two things together, it's kind of like, you know, it's not really anything. It's more so noise as far as like what I'm getting from her in this, well, at least this segment of this interview. And I feel as though is that if the act is egregious enough, that Congress will hold their members accountable. Now, egregious can be subjective depending on the individual that may be looking at the act that's being committed, and as far as how Congress, you know, pursues these matters for justice. Now, I see another point she's making in regards to the belief of Congress following through on upholding their rules and laws that have been established. Like, I could definitely see that because, and I think that people that look at hearings and committees sometimes, you know, look at the fact is that who has the invisible immunity to avoid consequences in this situation here. And at times it appears that everyone probably has that immunity to a certain level.
You know, but it's all about, you know, how do I get this click? How do I, you know, then send the fundraising email? How do I say, you know, I'm holding Ilhan accountable? There's never really anything that they're holding on to, yeah.
So are you saying that some of these investigations are more partisan than others?
I haven't seen
the Justice Department has said that they're also going to look into your husband. Are you concerned about that?
They haven't said. I haven't seen a single investigation.
I was wanting to know. So is there an investigation?
If you know of some, let me know.
I wouldn't call it an investigation. Yeah. There's just been a focus on the rapid increase in your household wealth tied to your husband's companies.
Well, they have to make a choice to investigate, right? Like, do they choose to investigate or not?
I mean, if you've done something illegal, you would investigate.
But they're not investigating you.
I have not been made aware of an investigation into me or my family.
But when you look at the increase in your household wealth tied to your husband's companies, you understand why that raises questions for people watching from that outside.
Yeah, but that's again one of the it's their saying, right? Like there is no wealth increase. If you look at my husband's income, it's almost non-existent. He's helped make sure our children are going to college and our young one is taken care of. There is no wealth. There are ranges to businesses that he was invested in. I'm pretty sure. I don't even know what.
Well, they say. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Because they said you reported a net worth between $6 million and $30 million, and they said your 2023 disclosure was roughly $40,000, between $40,000 and $250,000.
Yeah, but they're not net worths. They're like the asset things for the companies. And so I don't know what percentage of it my husband actually has investment in. Like that's not, you know what I mean? It's not a full picture of the numbers in the way that it is presented in the document, because in the documents, we have to do ranges and we have to like report in a way that is not detailed. It's not like your tax return that you're submitting for the public record to see.
But that is a big increase, though. So you could understand why people would ask questions.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it'll get like adjusted at some level when those ranges are looked at.
And I think I saw that your husband was asked to turn over some documents but didn't comply. So is that true?
From who?
I don't know. I guess the Department of Justice. I don't know.
The House Oversight Committee and the Government Reform Committee. That was what was reported. That I think it was early on in like January, February, that he was asked to turn over like emails and different things.
Yeah, there is no oversight that the Oversight Committee has over my husband or me. So why would you submit documents to an entity that has nothing to do with you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they have oversight over the government.
She's correct that the House Oversight Committee cannot investigate members and their spouses. However, the fraud in Minnesota, specifically in her district, does raise questions. And it appears that whenever Ilhan Omar's, husband did not cooperate with the House Oversight Committee as far as releasing his business records to them, they therefore made the suggestion or the recommendation or actually the referral in this instance to the House Ethics Committee stating that, hey, this is out of our hands. He doesn't want to cooperate. You probably should look into this because we found some interesting things here. It's probably what it was. And
ethics is the one that has oversight over the member, not the spouse. And so
that's why you said earlier you would like let them.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like I remember like I've had maybe like 5 campaign finance complaints. Like they file a complaint every other day, and they want the headline, and then once those things get closed, no one writes about the fact that there was nothing there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure once this whatever happens with whatever Comer and them are trying to insinuate, that nothing will be reported out of it because there's only the accusations that ever get picked up. Mm-hmm. But I've never been fined. I've never had any sort of financial issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about the fraud case in Minnesota with the feeding?
Which is, again, I think that is the reason they are trying to create this thing, is because they think this supposed 30 million, or what did the president say, 44 million, is because of the fraud in Minnesota. They think I've somehow gotten something, which is insane. But it's a huge problem. I think it's now 230 million that has been.
Yes, 250 is what they say.
Yeah.
Misuse funds meant for child nutrition.
Yeah, 230.
Yes, 250 million and counting was found from the Feeding Our Future scheme and Medicaid fraud investigations from the federal prosecutors. That's a fact. The key detail that is failing to be mentioned here by her or even the follow-up questions, coming from this interview is that this happened within her district. That needs to be honed in more. And on top of that, too, her district represents the largest population of Somali Americans within the entire United States. And the majority of the players that were involved in this scheme were Somalian. So it does raise valid questions.
Yeah, 230 to 250. There's been about 77 or so.
75 defendants.
Yeah, that have been indicted. Many of them have taken plea agreements.
That makes it. They got to make it hard for you, right? Just in general, not because you got anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But when her responding that way, it just is very. It's she's probably acting like Kamala Harris was when she treated Charlamagne that one time. Like, hey, you can't go off script. You a black person. You vote Democrat. Don't go off script here.
But when he can point and say, "Well, this actually happened."
No, I mean it doesn't make it hard for me, but it does make it hard for, the average Somali business owner.
There you go. Yeah.
It makes it hard for the average immigrant business owner. It makes it hard for the average Black business owner, because it does create this cloud of suspicion, and obviously it's become very politicized, and it will continue to be politicized as we get closer to November, and the level of harassment people are dealing with. Even you'll have people go to restaurants, coffee shops, with their cameras harassing all of these business owners
and daycares,
and daycare centers, where people have not been able to take their children because they're scared. And so that aspect of it is hard. When people ask, like, what can I do? How can you help? Like, that is where it's challenging, because there isn't anything happening to them, but they are afraid. And then they're asking for help. And then because the government is not doing anything, we can't get any information for them, or we can't tell them it's going to be okay. So it's just, it creates a lot of fog for us as their liaison to the federal government, but it also creates a lot of fog as they think about growth, development, sustainability, especially in an economy where everything is hard, because in Minnesota, we're also very much hit by tariffs. We're a border state. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who get goods from places like China and others. So the tariffs are also causing a lot of economic heartache.
I mean, 2,500% increase in wealth is a significant jump in your finances. Significant jump. But we shall see what happens with this investigation into Ilhan Omar and her wealth. Because we have seen a few elected officials over the past, few weeks that are already resigning, or, really going to trial, on both sides of the aisle. Like Republican and Democrats are facing some, heavy allegations with certain things that are coming forward. Now, again, the House Oversight Committee did submit a referral to the House Ethics Committee in mid-March of 2026 to look into Ilhan Omar. Now, for context here, the reason why I mentioned Sheila earlier within the video and correlating it to Ilhan Omar's current state, or with her current investigation, was the fact is that Sheila's case was referred to the House Ethics Committee back in December 27th of 2023. And recently, she was found guilty in March of 2026 for committing 25 of the 27 violations. So, yeah, that just tells you how long these particular things take. So I understand that, to us, sometimes, or to others, it may seem like, hey, this is a pretty easy slam dunk type of case, but a lot of times it isn't. They have to take their time and to really go through, their investigation and stuff. Get at me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Please be safe out there. And please, please, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Unaffiliated Mind. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Deuces. Yes, sir.